The time on News Talk 93 FM is 6 o'clock.
It's a brand new day. It's a fresh start. Good morning, Jamaica. It's a time to live, a time to love, a time to laugh.
And you're laughing this morning?
I'm telling you, it's
morning,
a wonderful
everyone.
day.
It's a fabulous sunrise this morning. It was lovely. All those peach and tangerine and yellow coming up. Really, really lovely this morning with the sun rising from the east right over Harbourview.
So where you want it to rise from, the west?
No, but just as I say,
No,
some of us don't remember that the
come
sun rises in the east, my dear boy.
Like, come on.
Hey.
No, sorry.
What you have for me this morning?
Let's just rewind that, please.
Okay, rewind.
You didn't say, you said it
Yeah,
as
but
if...
tune, Roddy,
No.
rewind.
No, you said it as if so you'd expect it to rise from the west.
No, man, I'm just reminding everybody that the East is a wonderful place because it's where the sun rises. Okay.
Well, listeners, of course, we're coming here live from the studios of News Talk 93 FM from the University of the West End. Is on the internet. We're streaming audiovisual newstalk93.fm.com.
Morning, everybody.
Sharon, the one did rise from the west. Good morning, guys on the internet.
I never said that. I just said the sun rise in the East. It was just an acknowledgement. Lord, man.
Welcome to Fresh Start. I'm
Fresh,
Clyde
fresh,
Williams.
fresh. And I'm Sharon Merle here, website. It's a beautiful day to be alive. And we're delighted, very delighted, Clyde, to be sharing this space in the East with you. And we thank you for allowing us to get your day off to a wonderful fresh start. What's fresh for today, Clyde?
Well, we're going to have to examine your mental health today, Sharon.
Everybody knows I'm mad, so not a problem.
Well,
Let's see which psyche I'm wearing today.
Listeners, it's all about mental health today. As you know, this week is Mental Health Week. First up, in As I See It, and you know that As I See It is when we ask somebody just to comment on a variety of things. Sometimes it's an opinion piece, sometimes it's just commentary on aspects of life. This morning in As I See It, we have Yvonne McCullough Sobers.
Right.
And she'll be dealing with mental health, but she'll take it from the perspective of how does a family deal with that issue when a member of the family has mental health issues. And just before 7, of course, you know it's going to be time for
Snippets.
That's right. And counterpoint debate today, we will argue women make better politicians than men. That's going to be a great conversation here today in Counterpoint. And at 7:45, we'll be speaking with representatives of the Marcus Garvey movement. Just a little plug there. And at 7:57, we have Heads Up. We'll tell you about how to stay mentally fit.
Take note, Clyde.
I'm fit. And we bring the curtains down in the big picture with Dr. Maureen Irons Morgan and Michael Tucker, who will speak a little bit about the state of mental health here in Jamaica. And that's what's fresh for today. As usual, you know it's time to find a quiet spot. Take your Bible out, take your Quran out, take your, what is it, book Torah, I think it's called.
Holy Pibby.
Holy Pibby, whatever it is, or just a book of inspiration. You may have your daily bread, but it's now time for a little inspiration.
This morning, we want to bless our lineage. Holy Creator, thank you for sending me my ancestors to make my path easier. I thank you for the bloodline that I'm a part of. I ask that you continue to bless my loved ones, whom I had the pleasure to meet and those I did not. I ask that you continue to enlighten and uplift them on their paths. Today, Lord, I ask that you help me to draw from their loving energy so that I may fulfill my place in this time. Help me to play my part on this journey. so that it helps all that came before and those who will come after me. I release all judgments about myself, that I may fully stand in my purpose. Help me to elevate our line even higher. Help me to release the thoughts and beliefs of old that no longer serve us into those that take us into our hearts. Allow us to live our lives in abundant prosperity and joy. Help me to transform into this new way. Thank you, Creator, for hearing my words and for placing the answer before me. Thank you, God, for the energies that walk this earth before me in human form that prepared a softer place for me to walk. I am eternally grateful. Ashe. Minister Rhonda Jones.
And we take our inspirational readings from three faiths this morning: Christianity, Islam, and Buddhism. First, we go to the Holy Bible. And the readings this morning are taken from On Meditation. The wicked die and disappear, but the family of God stands firm. That's Proverbs 12 verse 7. The wicked die and disappear, but the family of God stands firm. Or the family of the godly. My eyes are playing tricks on me. From Islam: and serve Allah and do not associate anything with him, and be good to the parents and to the near kin of and to the near of kin. I'm sorry, listeners, can I just start again? Thank you. And serve Allah and do not associate anything with him, and be good to the parents and to the near of kin and the orphans and the needy and the neighbor of your kin and the alien neighbor and the companion in a journey and the wayfarer and those whom your right hand possesses. The Quran chapter 4 verse 36. And from Buddhism: each of us possesses our own sets of priorities and needs. Still, we are required to set some of those differences aside in order to maintain family unity and togetherness. Thus, a family with each member knowing and playing his or her part determines the emotional wellness of the family.
That was today's inspiration, and in closing, remind you, the soul attracts that which it secretly harbors, that which it loves, and also that which it fears. It reaches the height of its cherished aspirations. It falls to the level of its unchastened desires, and circumstances are the means by which the soul receives its own. Join us tomorrow morning for the inspiring words that will uplift your soul. Go to a short break.
This is News Talk 93 FM, broadcasting from the University of the West Indies, Mona campus.
Welcome back, listeners. Of course, you have joined us here at News Talk 93 FM. We are in Fresh Start, and if you just got up, then let's hope you will have a fresh start to your day. The paper, Sharon, you want us to start with the Daily Observer?
Okay, page 1. Well, we know that there was this plane crash in St. John's, Antigua. Unfortunate incident, and even more so because a Jamaican had died in that, and on her birthday, and we see death amidst joy. Jamaican Anya Duncan was celebrating several milestones all at once when her life was cut short in the ill-fated Fly Montserrat airline flight that crashed on takeoff in bad weather in St. John's, the Antigua Barbuda capital. Duncan, described by her grief-stricken dad Coswell Duncan as a caring and loving daughter who always wanted to do well in her life, was celebrating her 29th birthday. She was also being celebrated as the first Where did we see that carried to? Oh, page 4. 2, 3, 4. Okay. As the first mathematics teacher to have received 100% of her students pass a subject in this year's CSEC exams from Montserrat Secondary School. Oh. You see, if we continue on that page 4, all of it is dedicated to Anya Duncan. See her father, his son, and daughter Sabrina. Let's remember happier times with Anya. And we see other articles there. What else do you have there,
Alright,
Clyde?
I'd like to start with a little bit of just say condolences to the family of Anya Duncan, and hope that the Lord will strengthen you in this time of need. Alright, on the back page of the Observer, you know I love sports, listeners.
Morning.
The big man, Bolt, wants three-peat. Olympic legend won't switch events in Rio. I'm disappointed.
Why?
I'm disappointed.
Why?
I'm not going to cheer anymore.
Why?
I wanted him to go for the 400.
Oh, really?
Yes.
You want him to step far, man?
No, I wanted him to become like a god on earth.
I see what you mean. Well, maybe
Well,
if you pray enough, maybe he'll be
No,
inspired enough to take on that additional challenge, which you want him to.
No, I think he strikes me as somebody who, when he makes his mind up about something,
He's considered everything. Okay.
Well, let's read a little bit of it. Olympic legend won't switch events in Rio. Sprint sensation Usain Bolt yesterday announced plans to defend his Olympic 1 and 200 meter titles in Rio in 2016 and not switch disciplines. Bolt previously hinted he could seek a new challenge in Rio, saying he wanted to have a go at the long jump, while he has continually been linked with the 400 meters, despite repeatedly insisting he does not want to step up in distance. Anyway, you're the big man. Anything the big man decide, you have to go with the big man.
And that gets carried back in on page 38 there.
Yes.
And we see D-Cup group in limbo after CC Lennon draw in Tollgate, your parish, Clarendon.
Yes.
Qualification from Zone 8 of the Costa Cup remained delicately poised as frontrunners Lennon High and Clarendon College failed to seize the initiative following a 0-0 draw at Brancourt yesterday. The result means Lennon stayed atop the group on 15 points and are being closely policed by Clarendon 14, who have a game in hand, and Edwin Allen 13, whose 2 remaining matches will be up against the top 2.
All right, we're going to stick with sports for a little bit more, listeners, because, you know, sports helps to define us as a people. Boys hit ground running in Guatemala. It's a crucial match. Jamaica's Reggae Boys hit the ground running yesterday as they arrived here, focused on their crucial CONCACAF World Cup qualifying semi-final playoff game at the Mateo Flores Stadium on Friday at 8 p.m. That's 9 p.m. Jamaica time. And a couple new things have happened. They have brought in a young player from the Manning Cup. I think he's from Georges. I'm trying to find his name here somewhere. But a young player has been brought into the team, and they have brought in another player, a midfielder, Jermaine Hugh. So, you know, we're looking good, team, and let's see if we can support the Reggae Boys. A crucial game. It's a minimum we need to leave with is a draw, but I understand the team is going to win that game.
The boys have no fear, which is what they say in print. And then Jamaican stars amongst nominees for the IAAF Awards. Individual Olympic gold medalist Usain Bolt, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Price, as well as relay gold medalist Johan Blake have been listed among the finalists for the IAAF Male and Female Athlete of the Year to be named next month.
So it's Bolt, Pocket Rocket, and the Beast.
Yep.
All right, let's look on the inside pages of the Observer.
Okay.
Siaga says 1980 victory was the prize. Well, I guess if you have only won one election, then it's hard.
Then clearly it is something that you celebrate. And then look at the big catch. Aren't we supposed to be going to Portland next week? Look at this huge fish. 2 fishermen from White River in Portland. Quader left and Desmond Joel Phillips hit this marlin weighing how much? 500 pounds Monday afternoon just off the coast of Port Antonio.
I know it is the Run Left Siaga story.
I know, I'm tying the two things together. Big catch and that.
No, but
What you want me to say about it?
No,
Huh?
no, not what you. Can I tell you though? I
What?
wish sometimes we were a lot more light-hearted in Jamaica on serious subjects. We take our lives, especially politics, too serious. So when you make joke light of something, people get all upset as if something is stuck up you know where, and we just don't make light. That's how a lot of us behave when it comes to politics. So, good morning, Mr. Siaga. Indeed, 1980 would have been your prize. A rough time for the country at the time, late 1970s into the 1980s.
Yep.
Many of us who are older Jamaicans know about that period in our history.
Many of us lived it, especially
yeah.
for me who had to wear a green uniform.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Well, what I always hope for, I know it's a hope that is, it's like, I really had hope that we would have had the courage as a people to have come clean about that period of our history. And for those persons, a truth and reconciliation, as it were. I know, we've heard this before, but I really, as a younger Jamaican, I really had hope that we would have had the courage of a people to just come clean about that period of our history. That period has continued to haunt us even today.
You're speaking about both parties, eh? So in
not
that
talking
case,
about
PNP, JLP, all Jamaicans, and
Yes.
even the church.
As a people.
Even the church.
As a
Let's
people.
remember how much church had to be involved in mediation and dispute resolution at that time too.
All right, so other
Wow.
news in the Observer on page 3. Mayor likely to address retreat at today's council meeting. Mayor of Kingston, Councillor Angela Brown-Burke, is expected to address the outcome of last month's retreat by officers and councillors of the KSAC at today's monthly council meeting. Concerns have been raised by the public and the media since newcomer JLP Councillor Dwayne Smith announced that he would be boycotting the retreat in September. Smith cited excessive expenditure in staging the retreat at the Rio Ocho Reyes Hotel instead of in Kingston. Well, the mayor has been criticized heavily for that. The entire council has been criticized.
Yeah, well, let's
for
see.
that.
Let's see. Hopefully, they've had some good outcomes in terms of setting some goals that are measurable. I've seen this as a new trend in terms of local government because Portmore had been doing it before in terms of taking the council on retreat. I've actually been on one of them. It's room to sit down and have discussion without all the phones and so on ringing, and you take it just as a talk shop.
That's Jamaica for you.
No, I thought I saw a difference in the planning and focus in Portmore Council at that time.
All right, no,
I
but
can
hang
only
on.
speak to my own
Yes,
experience.
but the proof of the pudding is always in the eating.
Exactly.
What happened in Portmore after the retreat? Did the city, the municipality rather, come together? Did you see some outcomes? I live there. I haven't seen any outcomes. The drains are terrible. The
That's
roads
at
are
this point, no, but at that point then,
When was
this was 6-7 years ago,
But that's what I'm talking
No,
about.
I saw a difference in
Tell
my
us.
segment of Gregory Park. I saw a difference in how we're dealing with the planning there. I saw it.
I'm talking about the outcomes in the entire Portmore. What were the outcomes?
I couldn't speak for the entire Portmore. I
Well,
could only speak for where I had responsibility for, sir. Because
Well,
that's what I went there to represent.
well, can
I
I
saw the linkages back.
Well, can I tell you, I live there. Mosquitoes are going to eat you away.
Well,
It's
you need to
terrible.
talk back with your council and MP about that then.
No,
But the
no.
mosquitoes is a serious problem, not only for Portmore doing, and I don't know that deals with just the political management alone. It has to deal with how we keep our space clean.
Yeah.
You were speaking back to a time in history in terms of as senior youth, our time at school. There was a lot more that we did in school as having been taught through the public health system about just simple things in terms of the saucers in our plants, the drip tray in our fridge. Hold on, because those things in terms of harboring those mosquitoes around us. I know there's a different challenge in Portmore, especially the greater Portmore area where you have the swamping and so on. Let's remember that is the natural environment that we occupy. So we have to look at how we live within that space.
But that's not what causes the mosquitoes in Portmore.
Really?
It's a lack of cleaning of the drains. It's a lack of those big canals that are not clean. And
Well,
so on,
we see quite a bit of work being done on them now. I look at Marine Park where I pass at Naggerhead, and I've never seen that place as clean as that.
Well, let me tell you, I will give KSAC some props.
Yeah.
If one day I go downtown and where the AG's office used to be,
Oh, okay.
it's an eyesore, and the mayor and the town clerk needs to take a walk and see for themselves. This is the capital city. It's the Supreme Court of Jamaica, and just beside it is a dump.
Yeah, and it still hasn't been cleared yet.
Cleared?
But that means it has to be solid waste and KSAC.
It is KSAC squarely. If they need to get solid waste to come down there and deal with it, that's another
Right,
matter.
okay.
But the jurisdiction is KSAC's
And the office
jurisdiction.
just round the corner, don't it?
The office is less than 200 meters away.
All right, we need
So,
we need the local government reps to take the road and walk and
but-
see for themselves,
but
and
can I-
not just take reports, eh?
But can I tell you this?
Yeah,
Honestly,
yeah.
that's how I measure a lot of things. It's right there, an eyesore beside the Supreme Court, juxtaposed.
Counsel, you sure you're not so passionate because it's right beside you at court?
No.
I'm teasing you,
I
I'm
know,
teasing you, yeah.
But remember, the judiciary is a hallowed place in a
True.
society.
And remember, we saw that story too about the rats in the court.
You know, so
Yeah,
KSAC,
yes, a compromise of public health.
the money where you take for the retreat,
Yeah, could have used it to do that.
I'm
True.
not saying don't have a retreat. I'm saying
No.
if you have a retreat, I want to see outcomes in the city.
Okay. All right, let's see then now.
All
Let's
right.
see.
I'm sorry, listeners. I'm just a little passionate this morning about that garbage because it's just, I can't believe it. Every time I go, I say something is wrong with us as Jamaicans.
No, but you know what's wrong with us too, since you're talking about us being something wrong with us as Jamaicans. Maybe I should start calling in the morning license plates of persons where I say, two hand, come out the vehicle, flip, throwing out them jukes box, hoping it would have flopped down into the river in Rare Cobre, right on the Portmore Parkway, just before you're getting down to the Mandela Highway. See that flinging the buckle and the juice bag out the window. And you know what is what is concerning to someone like myself? When they go ahead and tell you, they will make work for the people who have to clean the road.
All right, a little bit more from the Observer. Fiscal uncertainty, that's just before we go to the Gleaner. Fiscal uncertainty increases, that's page 7.
Okay.
The revenue side of a central government's account has begun to show signs of weakness. Tax revenues up to August 2012 grew by 5.4%, which is a further growth slowdown from the 9.9% recorded for April. And you can have a look at that story.
Furthermore, total tax revenues between April and August have now fallen below budget. Wow. Clearly we have some targets we have to be reaching for.
I want to just make a brief comment on segue into the IMF. I've restrained myself from
We haven't
commenting.
had a chance to have discussion on that, really, you know.
I've restrained myself when the IMF team was here
Yes,
because I thought the government should have a little space
right.
to do what it is doing. It's been 9 months. Sorry, it's been going now. It's going 10 months, and all the major indices are headed in the wrong direction. Now, the minister must decide, but I do believe that the team, that technical negotiating team, needs strengthening. I do believe that.
You have anybody to suggest?
Well,
Or
I
are you
don't
just
want-
speaking to the principle
I have
of
some
that?
people in mind.
Okay.
Now, there are 4 Jamaicans, I think, that have a lot of experience in dealing with the IMF, or the most experience in the country.
Yes.
Mr. Siaga, the former governor of the bank, that's Latibo there,
Yes.
Omar Davies, and
Yes.
Mikey Witter from campus.
Okay.
We are in dire straits, and you have a team, and none of those persons.
Have been called to the table to sit down.
You gotta be kidding me.
Are you sure of that though?
I know this.
Okay.
When the JLP was negotiating, I repeatedly said, how can you leave Mr. Siaga out of that loop?
Yes.
As we saw, the agreement was not a good one because it fell apart. We couldn't even do the tests. The targets were unrealistic in the world recession at the time. And where draft is the same team. I'm not saying that the team don't have good players. I'm saying the team needs strength.
Bolstering.
That's right. Because they didn't deliver under the JLP, and 10 months almost now, and we are snail.
Snail pace.
That's right. The other day was a fact-finding visit. That's what I read in the papers.
Yes, they did say that. But they met with so many different groups too. They met private sector, they met government, they met opposition, They met other stakeholder groupings, so they got a feel for the environment in Jamaica and our willingness to meet the conditionality, so to speak.
We need to get some strength in that team, Mr. Minister. All right, in the Gleaner, bring no fear. Sector leaders reveal high expectations for next contractor general.
It's a strange title, though. Bring no fear.
No, yes. They must say to him, say, my youth.
Yeah, nobody come with a whip.
That's right. No. When you come to the job, don't fear nobody.
Ah, okay.
So
me misunderstand.
Yes, don't worry yourself.
Right. Everything good. All right. Though
All right.
disagreeing on whether outgoing contractor General Greg Christie had the right approach on the job, sector leaders have declared that fearlessness, such as his will be an essential factor whoever takes over this post after next month. Whoops.
Lovely photograph of Bolt on the front pages in New Zealand.
Yeah, that's a lovely one.
Hey, you're the real big man.
Three-peat the focus. Both say he'll defend spring titles in Rio and leave Clyde crying.
Yes, and
just Clyde. I love the picture beneath it.
Two wonderful pictures.
Yeah,
with the
man.
West Indies.
It's a nice picture.
Them a do the dance, one big dance. With the young.
But them have plenty different move. I don't know which one we could I catch. Aim Roddy. You catch any of them, Roddy?
What them call the new dance, Roddy?
What the new dance name again?
Gangnam style. What is the Gangnam style? Boy, I'm tell him I forgot rewind the clock.
Okay, well, I have to catch it for Friday. We catch it for Friday. All right.
What else is there in the Gleaner?
Oh, Gleaner is very thin this morning. Editorial page, Chavez victory and the LNG project. Whatever else might have been the relevance of Venezuela's presidential election to Jamaica, the most immediate concern for Kingston was the future of the Petrocaribe Energy Agreement, and that's why we see the cartoon with Philip Paulwell chasing like crazy, and then say, wait, Paulwell celebrating West Indies victory? No, it's Chavez election victory. Petrocaribe safe.
All right, so just a couple of little snippets in the news. Oh, not snippets.
It is. Go ahead.
Tributes bring Siaga back to the house today. That's at page A3 in the Gleaner. And Miller's appeal halted by change of attorney. That's the Reverend Al Miller. And also on page A2 of the Gleaner, block drains, stagnant water, deepen dengue fear as well.
I've had dengue. It's not a nice thing.
Yeah, nice.
No.
All right, Sharon, that's all we have for the papers today. We take a break, and when we come back, we will continue with today's programming with As I See Yvonne McCullough Sobers.
News Talk 93 FM. Heard everywhere.
I'm Jerry Small. Welcome to Straight Up, a home work center. Many of us need a home. Most need to make the team. Some want to get back on their mark, and others willing to join the race, to run their leg in the relay. Straight Up is one way we can do. Some home schooling, some home training, so when we touch the road, when we make the trot, we treat others as equals, we give and take, we are happy, but no folly. Rich or poor, we are from the womb of the working class. We can make things work. I'm your host, Robin Jerry Small. You ready for Straight Up? 9 till midday, Monday to Friday, News Talk 93 FM. Heard everywhere.
When upon me mind, and not trouble me a cause now be on time, me just a talk, and I keep it real.
A station, and guess what? I'll be doing just that right here on 93 FM. But talk. So tune in with me every Thursday from 9 p.m. until 11, where we're gonna talk something. Tune in right here on the 93 every Thursday, 9 p.m. I'll talk to you then. Toodles.
Be on time, me just a talk, and I keep it real. Anything.
The evening edition is refreshing and entertaining drive time radio, weekdays from 5:30 to 7 p.m. Join us Mondays to Wednesdays with Lambert Brown and Thursdays and Fridays with Delano Seabright for captivating discussions, topical analysis, social and political commentary. Remember, tune in to the evening edition, Mondays to Fridays between 5:30 and 7 p.m. right here on News Talk 93 FM.
News Talk 93 FM. Heard everywhere.
Welcome back, listeners. It's a fresh start here at News Talk 93 FM from the studios on the University of the West Indies. I'm Clyde Williams.
And I'm Sharon Hay Webster here at Mona.
Well, Sharon, we are still hoping to have that conversation with Yvonne McCullough Sobers, but whilst we wait for her, we probably could speak about Jamaican schizophrenia.
Oh,
because,
okay.
Yes, I think...
You mean Freddie Hicklin's article the other day saying that all of us have a little piece of something, and is that part of that prayer that I read this morning too about the ancestors and what they had laid for us? Yeah. Or is that what has really influenced our capabilities of coping, because we have the capability of switching register as needed?
Well, let me tell you, I'm not speaking so much about the individual schizophrenia. I'm more speaking about us as a collective.
Yes.
There just seems to be something that as a collective we have this kind of madness going on. So we are at one and the same time great and then at the same time very destructive. Whilst we're creating, glory in the world and people are shouting about us, we're here killing each other and beating each other down and alienating each other and marginalizing each other. Something is wrong with us.
Why do you think there's something wrong? Let's look at what's happening even in the US now on their own elections and all the crazy things that you hear there. Isn't that part of what takes place when there's challenge that people have? That there's this crab mentality in a sense where people are scrabbling to try and find space to establish authority. And then you get this trade-off in a sense of negative energy which has to come out, and then from that now emerges the best.
I don't know which Jamaica you live in. Because,
really?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, let's just take some small things. Let's take our own personal behavior as a people. We do what we want to do, when we want to do it, where we want to do it. Nobody enough to say nothing to it. Me a big man. Nobody enough to tell me nothing. We throw the garbage out of the road.
You know that me talk about?
Yeah, so when I'm saying it is not Sean.
And then justify that me make work for next man. So the man who have to sweep the road if nothing did for sweep and take up him not have nothing him can't or nothing. Hello?
Yeah,
so maybe we would have spent that money better if we didn't have to clean that garbage there and were able to spend the money to facilitate a place for our children to play.
Yeah, but I'm trying to finger what's going on with us as a people. So we lie together, man and woman, without any kind of thought that we are likely to bring children. It's like sex is a sport. So we lie together, we have children, and then the fathers walk away in large numbers.
That's true. And then us women don't speak enough about how we can change that. We keep carrying that forward, and it's like a badge of honor to say, all right, there's another one.
So a man in Jamaica, quick, we say, attend me get.
Girl, I couldn't get presents.
Because
that's something I always keep asking them.
We treat sex as if it's sport. Like it's a sport. We just have it, no protection, children come, and we just walk away in the sunset.
But in the meantime, though, as we're speaking about children, let's come, however, to responsible behavior rather than just quarreling about what's not happening. Let's look at what is happening. You have people like Maya Chung. Yeah, people like Maya Chung who's been doing her best to deal with autism. You have people like Dundee Ferguson who's been dealing with Alzheimer's, and Alzheimer's it's.
I must shout about those things. We must shout about
I think we need to talk about those who are doing things, just like Yvonne, who we're waiting on to be able to join us, right? We must speak about those who are trying to organize us, so to speak, to address the realities that we face. I don't know that many.
I'm at a different place. Because
okay.
I've heard that for my entire life, I've heard that position. Hang on, I'm telling you what I've heard.
What have you heard?
That same position. We must speak about the good things. Sharon,
no, I'm putting that on the table too.
Yeah, but Sharon.
So why do we have Yvonne?
Yeah,
Why would we have had Yvonne for a discussion with us? Because we're talking about family mental health.
No, yes, but Yvonne is not here. We're talking about the Jamaican schizophrenia, the us as a people.
Yes.
So I'm saying that all the good things have been so overshadowed, Sharon, because of some fundamental systemic problems. Don't you see?
So if you're speaking to those systemic problems, then we must look to the solutions too. Okay. So which solutions would you want to explore then?
You want me honestly to tell
yes,
you what
man.
solutions? I want to come back to demonstrate some of the real problems we have to get out of.
Certainly.
So here we are in the midst of preparing for an IMF agreement, right?
Yes. So we need some mad people to address that one, no?
No, I'm just saying I'm trying to demonstrate what's so mad about us. So here we are in the midst of this thing. It reminds me of the West Indies having Chris Gayle on the sidelines and bickering over foolishness. Right? Remember when Chris Gayle was on the sidelines?
True.
The best 2020 batsman in the entire world. And we were talking about how dare he criticize the coach and how he spoke out of turn. All right, so he may have said something a little out of frustration, but many of us were thinking the very same thing Chris
That's very
said.
true. And he had the courage to be able to speak his mind.
And guess what the West Indies cricket team did? The board of management.
They took him out.
Right.
And it had to have the intervention of political leadership to bring him back.
And then the
Our
outer
own
order.
Prime Minister, the Trinidadian Prime Minister and St. Vincent, Ralph Gonsalves, their interventions at the board level was able to bring him back. And you know what was interesting too? To see a question on ESPN while the match was being carried. Does the West Indies place too much emphasis on the role of Chris Gayle? And it was a comment that I was listening to last night on another sports commentary program, where they were pointing out that Gayle, as a man on the team, Sammy didn't seem to have been intimidated by the fact that Gayle was having conversation with other team members when they seemed to have been slipping. And there didn't seem to be any fracturing of the team because of that, because there was a respect and bonding that we're in this thing together. So for example, when Ranarain was bowling and there was like 4 boundaries. Oh, Ms. McAllister is with us now? Fabulous.
All right, so
wonderful. Good morning, Yvonne.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
Wonderful to have you with us, because Clyde and I are walking around this issue and I want you to bring some sanity to us here.
Well, Yvonne,
All right.
Yes, please.
Yvonne, I was...
Hi, guys.
What you say, Yvonne? I was here talking about Jamaica's schizophrenia, the fact that we are a mad people. We are one and at the same time great and mad.
Yes.
So we don't cooperate and combine together to achieve our ends.
Yes.
Individualism is rife in the country.
Yes.
Men and women have sex as if it's sport, and they have children like they're goats. And then the men walk away from these children. But you want to tell us a little bit about how to deal with mental illness in family situations.
Well, I would say, first of all, we need to acknowledge in this country that we are living with a lot of trauma from the past, and that trauma is past and present, and that trauma, if it is unresolved, can affect the way that the mind is working for us. And so some of the things is that we need to just acknowledge that this happens, that unresolved trauma, unresolved situations of abuse, whatever kind of abuse, physical, mental, emotional, those can be triggers for mental health issues that may already be there. The genesis, the seed might well be present. So, first of all, it's an attitude that we need to change. And now I'm speaking particularly with respect to families and family members. Because when you have a family member diagnosed with a mental illness, first thing often is that people go into all kind of shame and blame and guilt, and the church often, people in the church often have ideas, is demon possession, is, smothered or something to you.
True.
And we need, first of all, to realize, look, this is a disease, like diabetes, like any other. So we need to just recognize that. As a family member, also, there may be mistakes that any of us make in the past. Even if there were mistakes, we have to let it go. We have to focus on what needs to be done for this person right now. You want me to stop now? Or you want me to go on?
I want to ask you one thing, though,
Yes.
Yvonne. I know that you've been focused on this for some time.
Yes.
And that since 95, there has been the development of the community mental health program.
Yes.
Have you been able to see much change in terms of attitude to persons who are mentally ill in the community and in families since the inception of that program?
I would say that the change is spotty, and I give thanks for even the spots where the change takes place. Because overall, no, we are pretty much where we were traditionally, that we feel that persons who are mentally ill are bad, mad, dangerous, and really we don't want to see them. And that's, of course, where the attitude has been internationally, that we need to lock them away or just have them out of sight. Now, of course, with community mental health care, the focus is on treating people within the community, so that there is far less of the
Lock away.
emphasis
Right.
on locking away.
Right.
But no, I mean, I get some good stories in spots. For instance, like stories of a community who will monitor this person in there, and once they see that the person's behavior is perhaps appearing a little erratic, then they realize that's a sign of perhaps the person's not being compliant, and members of the community will call on the mental health team, and they come, person gets straightened back out, gets back to his work, and the community is there supportive. And so this is happening, but it's happening in spots. Yes. In general, the attitudes are still stigma, discrimination, and people try to hide the fact, or worse still, because of the attitudes, people don't want to go and seek help.
Yes. Yvonne, unfortunately, we have just ran out of time this morning.
I know, and I need to really see.
Don't worry about it. We'll make it up.
No, we'll make it up. We can probably have a much larger discussion on that.
There was a little thing with the phone and so on.
All right.
But I'd be more than happy to make it up on another morning.
All right. We're blowing kisses at you. Have a great day.
And you too, and thank you so much.
Okay. Well, good evening.
That was Yvonne McCullough-Sobers. She is when she wears another hat, she is the convener of FAST, Families Against State Terrorism. We go to the break, and when we come back from the break, it'll be time for
Snippets.
Snip, snip. Well, listeners, it's just about 6:47, 45, 48 thereabouts in the mornings.
What time? No, you sound like you are tripping, Clyde. You start tripping before the snippets.
All right, it's time for snippets, and when you hear this, you know it's.
Why cry about bad weather? Enjoy it. Each moment is a treasure. Enjoy it. We are travelers on life's highway. Enjoy the trip. Each lovely twist and byway. Each bump and dip. If there's a complication, enjoy.
All right, when you hear that.
Snip. You
That's
taking
right.
that one first or me taking first?
All right,
one?
woman addicted to sponge and soap.
Oops.
While the
that
rest...
means she made a lot.
She eats a lot.
Eat.
While the rest of the world is awakening to the benefits of eating organic food, 21-year-old Kerry Trebelock.
This is eating clean food.
Is doing just the opposite. Actually, what she eats eats isn't even food. The young girl from Cornwall eats, yes, she eats soap and sponges. So far, she's consumed 4,000 washing sponges and over 100 bars of soap. Well, guess what?
What?
She's
Castile?
very clean.
Oh, I'm telling you, she has a very clean system.
Well, I suppose she at least has super clean intestines. It's no laughing matter, though, as Kerry is suffering from a condition called pica, which makes her crave things that have nothing to do with food. People with pica are known to eat a variety of things ranging from metal.
To sand.
How do you eat metal?
I don't know, too.
And even chalk. Well, I know a lot of people who eat chalk.
Really?
Coal, light bulbs, and furniture.
Light bulbs? Furniture? Boy. Oh boy, chew on it.
Snip, snip.
Whoops. Oh boy.
Brazilian city?
Yes, Brazilian city hires Batman. Batman fans in Brazil now have a reason to rejoice. This is probably the closest they will ever get to their favorite superhero. Inspired by the role played by Batman in the protection of Gotham City, officials of Tobit, Brazil have gotten a real-life Batman for their protection. Except this one has no Batmobile. Whoops! The Brazilian superhero is actually a former soldier, Andre Luiz Pinheiro, who has been hired to patrol the streets of Taubaté. Oh, and he sports a Batman costume while he's at it, just for kicks, I suppose. The details are still being worked out, so it's not exactly clear yet if there'll be other things for the comic strip, like bat signal for when he's needed on duty. Whoops, can you see the sign in the sky now? Thankfully, cops don't really expect the faux Batman to seriously combat crimes such as drug trafficking and murder. Instead, he'll play a more indirect role in the fight between good and evil. A social and educational crime prevention project is being planned, which targets children from the city. It's a good thing he's not really up against the bad guys. I mean, does one guy really dressed in a costume with no superpowers really stand a chance against a gang of criminals? It's actually kind of comical when you think about it. What if the cape gets in the way when he's fighting? What now, Clyde? Look here, Roddy. You need a towel. Clyde laughing till him crying.
Listen, can you imagine bringing a character like that in Kingston?
Look here, no man. Where? Which part? You can see him in New Kingston now.
Come out, Batman! And the man them say, bonk.
Snip, snip. Snip, snip.
All right, here we go. Here comes, well, listeners from Batman to the God Squad.
Whoops.
Here comes the
I like
God
this
Squad.
one. I like this one.
Until now, only angels are able to drop in from the skies, but not anymore. Russian priests will be joining in pretty soon, complete with church and everything. No, they won't be sprouting wings. They will be using parachute to do their flying.
My thing.
Confused? I'm talking about an elite unit of priests that are currently being trained as part of the Russian army.
Right.
Once the training is complete, they'll be able to drop in along with their mobile churches to hold services for Russian troops posted around the world. Their code name, the God Squad.
All right.
More interesting. More interesting than the parachuting priests themselves are the mini high-tech churches.
Them carry the church with them?
They carry with them.
Okay.
The self-assembled Russian Orthodox churches will come with crucifixes, replica icons, bells, and chalices. Chalices.
Yeah, I know you don't like that.
In short, I'm getting people wrong.
Look here, read.
In short, everything that's needed for the rituals performed as a part of their religion. An air conditioning unit, generator, refrigerator, and mini theater will also accompany the priest.
What?
The chapel will be placed on the ground using an airborne platform, generally meant for carrying heavy military equipment. Once on the ground, the priests would get to work in assembling the entire church unit before holding a service.
Yeah, I tell you, that's the spirit on the move.
Snip, snip.
Okay. Oh, pill to cure racism. Yeah, you look at me like that.
Yeah,
pill to cure racism.
We need to give the Republicans a whole truckload of it.
Yeah. True.
Yes.
A common heart disease drug may have the unusual side effect of combating racism, a new study claims.
Sure.
Volunteers give the beta blocker propranolol used to lower heart rate scored lower on a standard psychological test of implicit racist attitudes. They appear to be less racially prejudiced at a subconscious level than another group treated with a dummy placebo bill. Scientists believe the discovery can be explained by the fact that racism is fundamentally founded on fear. Really? Propranolol acts both on nerve circuits that govern heart rate and part of the brain involved in fear and emotional responses. The drug is also used to treat anxiety and panic. Experimental psychologist Dr. Sylvia Turbeck from Oxford University, who led the study, says, Our results offer new evidence about the process in the brain that shape implicit racial bias.
I mean, come on, man. Come on, guys.
Let me finish. Implicit racial bias can occur even in people with a sincere belief in equality. Really? So it's the chemistry that do it. All right.
It's the brain.
Yeah, the chemistry of the brain.
Yes,
that is why you put in the propranolol to get it fixed. Look here, now, man. Moving right along.
Snip.
Snip,
Oh,
snip.
come on, guys. All right. This one you're going to like. An abandoned toilet turned into cozy home. There's no place like home.
Whoops.
I believe the saying goes. And this modest migrant family from China proves it applies even when home is an abandoned public toilet in the city of Shenyang. Zheng Longguang was born in a small village in the Jimblong province of northeastern China. As a boy, he dreamed of one day attending college. But because his family was too poor, he had to abandon his dream and settle for becoming a cobbler and repair shoes for a living. But just because he couldn't afford to go to college, it didn't mean he was willing to spend the rest of his life in his village. He had bigger plans for himself. So one day, with just about 50 yuan, that's $8 in his pocket, he left for Shenyang, the biggest city in northeast China. Being a hard worker and a skilled cobbler helped Zheng make a living in the big city. And he was soon earning around $315 per month. But this wasn't enough for him to get his own place. 6 years ago, a friend tipped him off that an abandoned hotel toilet was available for rent.
Whoa.
At a very low price.
A hotel toilet. Okay. Now his hotel. Well, I'm going to tell you.
He immediately borrowed the money he needed and rented the derelict toilet as his new home. He took down the old door and all the wooden cubicles and laid down some planks to cover up the toilet bowls to make room for a bed.
Okay.
The dismantled cubicles were converted to storage space, and even though the place is just 19 square meters in size, he somehow found space for his own little cobbler workshop.
So it's business and home at the same place.
Me rate the Chinese.
Yeah.
The Chinese can do anything.
With anything.
With anything. Snip, snip.
Snip, snip. Okay. Do we go to the man who can't stop laughing after his hip surgery, or do we take the woman who lay upside down for 75
down woman?
Upside down.
We have come to the OMG of the day.
This one is striking. Woman lies upside down for 75 days to save her babies.
75 days?
Whoa. Child labor is arguably one of the most painful experiences in the world. A woman who endure a few days of it are considered heroes. Going by this, a woman who went through 75 days of labor has got to be nothing short of superhuman. I guess it goes to show just how much pain a woman would be willing to withstand to save her babies. 31-year-old Joanna Krizonek, who was pregnant with triplets when she went into labor at just 21 weeks. When the first baby came out prematurely, it was too weak to survive. In a bid to save the other two babies, doctors at the neonatal clinic in Wrocław, Poland, decided to act fast. They stopped the contractions with medications and got Joan to lie down on a tilted bed at a 30-degree angle. Whoa, okay, to avoid them starting up again. The umbilical cord was tied up and placed back in the uterus. What followed for Joanna was probably the toughest 2.5 months of her life. She had to remain upside down, 24/7 with no break whatsoever, not even to use the bathroom. She wasn't allowed to move one bit, and the hospital staff made sure she was bathed and fed every day. I had to be very disciplined, and I was not allowed to move out of the bed for the whole 75 days, she says. That was very uncomfortable, but the staff kept me going. Wow. That was June of this year. Goodness.
Listeners, when we read that, all we could say was OMG.
Wow. Yeah, true.
Respect.
That one strikes you.
Yeah.
That one strikes you.
Not a funny story, but a
No.
story of courage and perseverance.
Absolutely. And what us women have to go through to make sure our children will live, eh?
Good morning to all the mothers in Jamaica and around the world and listening on the internet to Fresh Start here at News Talk. Respect you. Big up. All right, Sharon, that's all we have for snippets today.
Yep.
So let's go to the news, and after the news we come back with Counterpoint Debate. Welcome back, listeners. It's Fresh Start here at newstalk93fm.com. I'm Clyde Williams.
Pardon me. Very sorry about that. This is Sharon Merle Hay Webster, and we're in Counterpoint.
Listeners, guess what? It's Mental Health Week.
Yeah. My head touched this morning.
Right.
And this morning, because we're having discussions in our Counterpoint that women make better politicians than men.
And this is a hot topic, so we're going to ask you to text your own comments. 899-7657. That's 899-7657. And we have two of the university top debaters here with us today, this morning. We have Michael Williams. Hey, Williams, big up you. You're the best debater in the place. Let the listeners hear your voice, Michael.
Good morning, everyone.
All right, you heard that. And of course, no joke here, we have Tashna Toya, who will come up against Michael. Now, Tashna, listeners hear you, man.
Hello, listeners.
Yeah, go on like this. These are top university debaters. They have traveled the world and they have debated for the University of the West Indies and have done us proud. The mood today, women make better politicians than men. All right, Tashna will be proposing the motion and Michael will oppose. 2 minutes up for the first time. 2 minutes Tashna, 2 minutes Michael, and then we're going to have a reply 45 seconds and it's going to be a blow by blow. So let's start with our proposition.
Okay. Well, we first have to understand the context in which we're speaking. Why do women make better politicians than men? Firstly, we had to break the glass ceiling where we were considered to be inadequate, where we were considered to be poor leaders, that we couldn't rise to the occasion. And then we found outstanding female leaders coming to the fore and dominating these positions that we thought we couldn't excel in. So when you see persons, a gender that is able to rise to the occasion and dominate and do so well, even better than their male counterparts, you have to understand that these are the persons who make better leaders, because they have something to strive for. They have a goal to overcome. They are constantly seeking to break the perception. So we have persons who are not comfortable in just being average or being ordinary. They're motivated to be extraordinary leaders. And we see that when we have persons like Hillary Clinton, who steps out within a male-dominated field and makes her own mark. These are persons who they're just not satisfied with being ordinary or average. And that's what you need in a politician, in a leader, somebody who will dare to be different, who'll stand out and represent your views and just go the extra mile, the extra edge. And that's what we believe makes a good politician. And that's we're proud to say that females do in fact make better politicians than men. Then we look at the fact, and we can't deny it, what else comes to mind when you think of a politician? There's so many things on their plate all at once that they're expected to deal with and give equal attention. And undoubtedly, women are the persons who can multitask exceptionally. Nothing seems to be too great a task that we can't provide adequate attention to it, and psychologists will in fact conclude that that is true. Women do make excellent multitaskers. You wanted us in the home because there's so many things to do in the home all at once, giving it all that attention and giving it excellent attention. And we see where women take this outside the home into the political sphere and give perfect attention that is needed to the issues to be addressed and take their exceptional multitasking skills to the plate. So just to start out, yes, we do make exceptional politicians.
Michael, you have a real challenge on your hands this morning. Let's go.
Well, the first thing I'd like to address is an issue of perception versus reality. The fact is that in most opinion polls, we seem to have less of a threshold for women as opposed to men. We seem to have more emotional biases toward women because we grew up with our mother in the home, because we grew up with she being the teacher in the classroom. So the question really is whether it is an issue of perception versus reality. Most opinion polls will have the perception that women do make better politicians. But then what I find, even in the example that's given of Hillary Clinton, we find that although she may be a good politician, she has very masculine qualities. And when we look at even the German chancellor, we see very masculine qualities in her. So I agree to an extent that women have made a place in politics, but they really have taken on masculine qualities, and they really have taken on the role of being that sort of a male-female figure. And for that reason, I do think that men make better politicians. When we look at history, barring, of course, the whole oppression of women and the suppression of women, when we look at our history, we see that men have dominated the field. We see where men have made significant strides in leadership. Perhaps one of the only females that really stand out in history in terms of leadership is Mother Teresa. We have examples of Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, almost all our national heroes except for one. And when we look at the rest of the world, we see a lot more men making strides and more men making their mark in terms of politics and leadership. So it's clear to me who has, the resume then of being the better leader, and it certainly stands with the men at this moment.
The lines are drawn. Back to you for a reply, Tashna.
And here we go again. The stereotypes. We did it first, so these are our qualities. And if you come and you embrace them, then you're simply following us. It's our qualities. And that's nonsense. Who gave you the idea that what they consider to be the male qualities, the person who exudes confidence, who's strong, who goes at it? They say these are the stereotypes that women have to. That's the stereotypes that are attached to a woman. If you're cold, they say Meryl Streep playing a particular role in a movie that The Devil Wears Prada. She's cold. She's mean. Angela Merkel, she's cold. She's mean. All these women, they're cold, they're mean. They're not women. They're just women who want to take on the role of men. And that is nonsense. Listeners, do not be swayed by it, because that is not true. You like these qualities because you believe that this is a person who I can rely on. This is someone who has dependable qualities. And that's all it is. It's a quality that you want to see in a leader that is embodied. But it goes further. Why do these persons who can exude similar qualities, what makes one different, what makes one better? Here's the thing. Women, we do what the boys do, and we add what we can do, and we do it even better. So in addition to being cold, as they put it, being firm, being able to make decisive decisions, we don't tackle on the issues. We are also, as you pointed out, the Mother Teresa, we can feel. We have the emotions. We're able to make the connection with the people. And dealing with that connection doesn't mean we're weak. What it means is we can identify and we can move forward. So yes, we can play a supporting role. We have Michelle Obama. And you say behind every great male politician, there was an outstanding female politician. And then we will look at Sarah Palin, the cheerleader, the little bobblehead who didn't do well. But the fact is, she used what was her innate qualities to make her an exceptional leader. The fact is, her place in history will never be removed. She used what she had and she did it well. Whatever your comments are, that's personal. But we can't take away the fact that women constantly go into the playing field, taking the qualities that they know are necessary to perform well, and they do it to the best of their ability. And you cannot take that fact away from women. So let's not go about the stereotypes and saying, we just follow the men. Because nobody ever said, nobody can compare leaders to males. They don't compare the females. Females have their place, the males have their place, and then they look and they say, wow, we have the current leader who's deemed to be better than Nicolas Sarkozy. That's the German chancellor, right? They say she makes a better leader. Granted, that's an opinion. But the fact is, it's not a comparison. They are not placed on the same playing field. They can stand independently. And when you have someone who can stand independently as a leader, that shows that they enter the playing field and they can compete and they can break a glass ceiling. And anybody who can do that, any player who can come into a playing field where they were considered to be inadequate and break all those nuances and all those perceptions and perform exceptionally well, those are the persons, those are the players to look out for. Those are the women, those are the leaders that we're exceptionally proud of. Those
All
are
right.
females.
Mikel, you're up again.
Well, I'll counter some of the points. I never said that women are following per se men, but it's just that in chronological order, I would accept the argument then that you followed because we did it first. But separate and apart from that, I don't necessarily believe that you follow consciously then the qualities that are innately masculine. And that is really what this debate comes down to, whether or not women transpose masculine qualities to become politicians, or whether or not they exude their feminine qualities and actually make it to the podium or the lectern. Because a lot of the really good politicians, as you've pointed out, even Margaret Thatcher, even in her speech, she had to modify it to have a more authoritative tone, a more masculine tone. And when we look at other leaders around the world, politicians, they tend to wear more pants and not more skirts. They tend to seem a bit more dominating in when they try to stand next to a male politician. So I still hold true to the belief that masculine or men make better politicians. Women seem to realize that and tend to take on those things subconsciously or unconsciously. And that is the only way I strongly believe that they will be equal to men in the political field. The political sphere is cutthroat. It is very go for the jugular. It is very, harsh. And the reality is that most women will not go to that length. Most women will not instinctively be that sort of individual. They tend to be the more nurturing, familiar sort of leader. And they usually take on the roles such as the teacher, this role such as the mother and the nurturer. And usually that's not the situation in politics. So I'd have to say that men do make better leaders because they are more able or inept to those sort of qualities.
I'm going to ask you just to respond. We're coming back to, just now, Tasha. I'm going to ask you to respond to that multitasking point that was made on the top of the debate by Tasha. She says you need to be a multitasker to deal with politics properly. Women are great at that. They're running the households, they're earning a living, they're raising the children, and they're cooking your own food. And you get in and get a nice warm meal. Deal with that point.
Well, I don't think that multitasking is confined to any one gender, because I certainly can do a number of things right now while speaking to you. I could be browsing the internet, or I could be doing so many different things. So I don't necessarily buy the argument that women are greater at multitasking simply because they play double roles in the household. Men can multitask, and even if we can't, we do better at an individual task, and that individual task is leadership. So I strongly believe that in a political sphere, multitasking does have its assets, but men overpower women in various other areas. And even if they are good multitaskers, then men certainly can do better in leadership.
Tasha?
And here goes the falsehood, that leadership is a single activity. Leadership embodies several activities. Several things have to be done at once to make you a good leader. And in any playing field that you're entering, there's certain qualities that will make you good at what you're doing. And leadership, simply because we emulate these qualities and because we do things that are necessary, doesn't mean that we want to be the man. It means that we know we can be the leader and we can do better in that field and we can satisfy the demands of that field. So all the points that were raised by Mikel, that is a cutthroat environment and that we wear pants. Ladies, please, that's a fashion statement. You want to wear your pants? You wear your pants. You have several female politicians who wear their skirts. all I'm saying is that you cannot simply look at these tenets and say because the male does it and the female comes into the same environment and she exudes these qualities, it means that she wants to be the male. The fact is, women face prejudicial expectations and reactions where they believe that, listen, you are in an environment where you're in charge and that's not the expectation. But it doesn't mean that that stereotype or that prejudice is true, because as with all prejudices, they're not usually based on any fact. And that's the point we're making, that females are often, their efforts and the success that they gained is often undermined because it is believed that you're in an environment where you're not excelling, you're simply copying. And that's not true, because the qualities are necessary no matter who you are. Any male coming into the field will want to emulate certain qualities. He will say, listen, Martin Luther, that was a man who believed in a vision. A woman coming in would say, listen, I'm a leader and I have to believe in a vision. It doesn't mean that I want to be a man, it means I want to be a leader. And that woman will come in and she will take in qualities. If you're going to talk about innate qualities, she will take her innate qualities. And you still, Michael, have not answered the question that can men multitask as much as women? And it's a historical fact. It's grounded in reason. So listeners, we have to understand that yes, it's a playing field that has been dominated by men, and the prejudice, the cards are stacked against women. But is it true? Are we in fact poor leaders? No, it's not, because you've seen women constantly rise to the plate and have proven over and again that yes, when we step into the arena, boys, we do it and we do it better. Women do make better politicians.
We go to the break, and when we come back from the break, we continue this very hot debate today.
News Talk 93 FM. Heard everywhere. The time on News Talk 93 FM is 7:30.
Well, listeners, it's a hot debate. Are women copiers? Are they innovators? Are they better multitaskers? Those are the issues being debated here in Counterpoint today. Two great debaters going at it head on, juggler for juggler. The numbers for you to get involved in the text line, rather, 899-7657. That's 899-7657. We come right back into the debate. I think Tashna spoke a while ago, so we go to Mikhail for his rebuttal of some of those points.
All right. I'm sorry. The multitasking argument. Well, as I said, I certainly don't know whether or not there's any studies that have proven that women actually do better multitasking, and I don't know whether or not it's a quality that men cannot do. But nonetheless, I'll move on to other points.
Are you ducking the point?
No, I'm sorry.
Because Tashna has made that a central plank of her presentation. She says, guys, we do all these things, and to be an effective leader, you have to have your hands on a lot of things at the same time and still make good decisions. Are you ducking the point, Mikhail?
I certainly am not ducking the point, and there, for me to take the extreme stance, which is to say that men actually do make better multitaskers, I need some background information, I need some statistics. She hasn't really proven to me, apart from quote-unquote logic, that that's the situation, and I certainly don't want to take the extreme to say that men do make better multitaskers without that sort of information. My personal view is that I don't think that any one gender, by innately being male or female, is a better multitasker. But I will say that women can multitask and men can multitask. So the point there is somewhat moot. But to move on, men do not generally experience prejudicial reactions based on gender when placed in charge. We are accustomed to seeing men in leadership, and we are accustomed and comfortable with men being placed in leadership. So, as I said earlier on, when I said the threshold for females in terms of entering politics is lower, I can cite an example in Africa, for instance, where an 18-year-old was elected to council simply because her father was a councillor before, he died, and then she decided to carry on the mantle. The threshold for her and for I don't remember the name of the countries particularly, but the threshold Uganda, thank you. The threshold for her was so low, for women in general is usually so low that it really, I remember The Economist had an article about it, saying that the standard for politicians has dropped significantly now because of that one serious incident where she really wasn't qualified, fresh out of high school, being elected into such an important post. So again, the threshold for women is really, really small, while men have to compete against each other vigorously in order to get into politics. When we look at even the presidential elections in the United States of America, if we were to throw a woman into that presidential mix, it would be very difficult for the type of politicking that is normally their culture, because then one man will be charged to be chauvinistic or anti-woman, or where, for instance, if a woman were to be very reluctant, or what's the word, to not be up to par with other men in that race, then we'd say, oh, she's a female, she's supposed to be gentle, she's supposed to be like that. So again, the threshold is harder, is unequal, and certainly the threshold is higher for men. And I don't think Tashna can refute that.
All right, we're going to have closing arguments, and then we're going to enter in just a small discussion after the closing arguments. So Tashna, you go with your closing arguments, and then we come back to Mikhail for closing arguments.
I have to agree, Mikhail, and that's the only thing I'll agree with what you just said, that the threshold is indeed smaller. We have less female politicians, but undoubtedly we have very little stars. There'll be only one Bolt, right? And that doesn't mean he isn't a legend. He isn't an exceptional individual at what he does. So having very little female politicians does not stand to reason that we're poor leaders and that indeed we are not the better of the two genders to be the leaders, right? So the arguments, yes, I agree, the cards are stacked against us. We have more males, they did it first, and we're accustomed to seeing them. So when a female comes out, yes, you're going to say, is she supposed to be there? Is she the better leader? Don't we want a man in charge? But that should not and does not stand to logic or to any form of reason that because she wasn't there first and because you don't have many like females, that she indeed cannot act as an exceptional politician and an exceptional leader and bring out the best in her people, because that's what expected of a leader. A person who can stand with a vision, who can lead the people forward, who can take them to places they've never been. And that's not something that is innate to any gender. It's something that you're either a good leader or you're not. And the fact is, women have oftentimes, when they stood up to the plate and they've taken on the role, they have done exceptionally well at it. And that's why we're proud to say that, yes, women do in fact make better leaders, better politicians.
All right, we have Mikhail with the last word.
Well, what I liked one word that you used, which is exception. Although you use exceptional, I'll use exception. There are a lot of exceptions to the rule, and that doesn't disprove the rule. Men do make better leaders, and we have some exceptional women who actually become leaders. But the question is, as you said, leaders versus politicians. Women are leaders, yes, and I will say that. Women do make good leaders in the home, in the church, in other spheres. But do they make better politicians? No. And what you've actually said is that there are exceptional women who make good politicians, and that's rightly so. They're the exceptions. They're the ones who have to fight. They're the ones who have to become who have to take on masculine qualities. They're the ones who really and truly are the exceptions to the rule. So at the end of the day, I still believe that men make better politicians. Men are the better leaders in that political sphere. And women have their qualities, they have their good things, but not at this time. We don't see them as the better politicians.
All right, listeners. Text line again, 899-7657. It's hot in studio here. And we're going to just transition a little bit into discussing some of the issues that have been thrown up in the debate so far. Sharon, you want to weigh in here?
I wonder if Mikhail had kept that line in respect of women not making the better leaders, and our own Prime Minister had not intervened in regard of Chris Gayle, we would have been able to have been celebrating the way we had.
One swallow doth not a summer make.
No, I'm speaking to an example.
No, but what I'm saying is that one swallow doth not a summer make. because the solars indicate summer is coming on. So when one flies across, it's not summertime yet. Anyways, let me hear some responses.
Well, you see, if we were to have a male counterpart do intervene in sports, we'd perhaps say that he went a bit too far. He, as a politician, shouldn't be intervening with something as simple as cricket, and shouldn't be intervening with things that are outside of his portfolio as Prime Minister of Jamaica. If anything, we should have left that to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who then can argue some prejudicial basis for him not to be considered in the West Indies cricket. So I certainly think that, if anything, the only reason that perhaps Prime Minister Portia Simpson-Miller got away with it is because she's a female.
I would remind you that there were 2 females involved, as the Prime Minister of Trinidad was also there, who's also female.
Yes.
And we had
Probably that makes his point.
It does make my point.
Let me hear you, Tashna.
No, but you see, that's what's happening, because you actually had male leaders who followed the stance that she took, who went ahead and said, right, she recognized that it does fall within her portfolio, something that is inherent. Cricket is something that, it's not a foreign affair. That's the first thing I want to point out. It's not a foreign affair. That is something that's regional. That's something that we love as Caribbean people. So it did fall under her mandate to step up and recognize that we're having a problem with something that is so valuable to her people. And the fact that you could say that it's a foreign affair, Mikhail, it speaks very poorly of male leaders. We had a female who had to recognize. She was the first one. And then we had another female who recognized that this is something that's important to our people, and something has to be said. That's what I'm talking about. Females can reach to the heart of the people, and not only could she reach to the heart of the people, she could make a decision that was necessary. And that's what we see time and again with female leaders.
All right, very well. But I've seen, especially in recent weeks, the sort of uproar that has been made about the absence of the voice of the Prime Minister on national issues, whether it be national security, whether it be, well, officially she made a statement regarding the rape incident in Montego Bay. But before that, people were calling, where is the Prime Minister? And that begs the question. She was able to do it early on in the stages with West Indies cricket, which is a regional activity. But yet within her own mandate as Prime Minister of Jamaica, we sometimes are waiting indefinitely for her to make an adequate response in terms of some of the national issues. So there again we see a different threshold. We in previous administrations we kept asking the questions of what is your stance, and we got the responses. We're still waiting to an extent to hear some of the many things that the Prime Minister needs to speak on, whether it be Jeep, whether it be other issues, though we're still waiting. And the threshold, as I said, is very different for a woman. Because she's a woman, we can wait a little longer. If it was a man, if it was other administrations, whether it be either side of the house, we would be questioning and going harder and demanding responses. But simply because she's a woman and, we have to be gentle, we're not taking that route.
You have raised, all of us in the conversation have raised the issue. Are different standards used to judge male and female leaders? And I think that is a central issue that is coming out. Are different standards used, Tashna? Say, for instance, in the debates, the Honourable Portia Simpson-Miller spoke about homosexuality. Could a man have done that? And if Andrew had spoken about it the way she spoke about it, would it have caused a greater furor in the country? We're taking some texts.
Okay, 2 texts here from those that have come in. The problem is that we equate being a politician with being a leader. Politics is a career. Leadership is a quality. Men make better politicians because women have a conscience. Women make better leaders because they relate better to people in teams and building consensus. That's a view. Second, why would God choose Solomon, Moses, and Jesus if men were not more suitable for leadership? He is tougher. She can lead in some things. I would remind you that it's men who wrote the Bible and put the books together, and they left out all the books that were written by women.
All right. So let's just, that issue that we just placed on the table about different standards being used. Tashna, weigh in on that first, please.
Undoubtedly, Yes, there are different standards used because we have prejudices that exist and they will always come into the whole decision-making process and the evaluation. So we have a perception. Women are soft, they're gentle, they're nurturing, so they can't handle harsh criticisms. But that has never stopped harsh criticisms from being leveled. Even in the example that was used, yes, they believe that the Prime Minister isn't speaking out as much as she should, and the media has not stopped pointing it out. So I don't necessarily know that a different standard is used in assessing females versus male leaders. It's simply that we have perceptions about what they should be, and we use that in criticizing them.
Quickly, Michael.
I definitely have to disagree. To a few points.
You have 30 seconds.
Right. I strongly believe that Andrew Holness could not have said what Portia Simpson Miller said, and the threshold is definitely unequal. Women can say things and get away with it that men can't, and men certainly have to be more careful with what they're saying. So I on that point I'd have to disagree. I strongly believe that women have a lower threshold. They can get away with a lot more than what men can get away with.
All right, listeners, we are out of time for today's Counterpoint debate, a hot debate. Do women make better politicians than men? What's your opinion? Call us in the callback and tell us what your opinion is. We go to the break, and when we come back from the break, we will continue with today's programming, and we'll give you a little plug.
News Talk 93 FM. Heard everywhere.
Telling you, well, it's Marcus Garvey and his words, they have come to pass until black people. And we have no better representatives here today than two gentlemen from the Marcus Garvey
Planning
Committee who will speak to us a little bit about Garvey, and they have some upcoming activity that they want to speak
Ras
with us.
Hoshing.
Yes, let's hear your voice, Ras.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
Yes,
and before we go on, I'd like to say to all our Jamaican people, in the name of the Almighty Holy Trinity, right? One perfect love, enough blessing for this morning.
Don't know. And we have another brother with us.
Well, I am Constantine Bogle from the Paul Bogle Foundation, working alongside the Marcus Garvey organization.
Yes.
And I am here to discuss the events of St. Thomas that will be taking place for this month.
Well, go right ahead, gentlemen. You want to lead off with that, and then we come back?
Well, I would just like to remind Jamaica and the world that come tomorrow night is October 10th. And on October 10th, 1865, Paul Bogle had a candle vigil in Stonegut before he led the march on the morning of the 11th to Morant Bay. And we will be having this candlelight vigil in Stonegut. Candlelight vigil starts at 6 o'clock. Candles will be lit at 6 o'clock. So it's important that you get there before 6 p.m. And it's a whole night vigil, and Thursday morning we'll be marching into the city to keep that historical march of 1865 that led to the uprising that bring about independence, ownership of land, migration, and it is called in the history book, it is called the New Jamaica take shape. On the 23rd of October is the day when George William Gordon, one of our national heroes, was hung. And we will be doing a candlelight vigil in honor of George William Gordon. And we are asking the Honorable Parliament and House of Jamaica was named in honor of George William Gordon. That is why it's named Gordon House. So we are asking all parliamentarians, include the Prime Minister of the country, to observe that day and light a candle inside of the Parliament of Jamaica in honor of George William Gordon House. We want to bring a new light to the Parliament. On the 24th, 24 hours after George William Gordon hung, Paul Bogle was hung. Paul Bogle was captured the same day George William Gordon hung, and we will be doing another candle vigil, but this one will be called the African Slavery and Holocaust Memorial, that we are trying to establish not just here in Jamaica but across the world. We want to create a memorial day in memory of the 500 million Africans that died as a result of slavery. So we want to do this candlelight. We're hoping that in the future, the same day we're doing it here in Jamaica, we'll have it done elsewhere across the world.
Speaking about the Africans and the 500 million, we go to Brother
Ras Hoshing.
Blessed. As what Brother Bolgers explained, the month of October is a very significant month. There's some very serious event that is commencing from the 10th, and it runs right through until the 23rd and the 24th. But I'd like to just make it very clear that from the 10th, the 11th in St. Thomas, in Montego Bay, and the 14th, we also have Sam Sharp, and we are going to be doing the same march that he did. And obviously comes to Kingston on the 15th, which is Black Heroes Day. And we're doing the marching starting from Mandela Park at 9 a.m. We'll be gathering, and from around 11 o'clock, we'll be proceeding marching onto Heroes Circle. Now, the purpose of these marches is not just in remembrance of our great national heroes, but also to now finally bring action. The whole motion in Parliament regarding the charges against Marcus Mosiah Garvey, you will find that all our national hero has charges against them. So what is our intention to do is to gather signatory so that we can submit a proper petition to the Prime Minister and to the various relative organization regarding the charge against Marcus Garvey to now be fully struck off the records, including Leonard Howell and all our true national heroes. And this also brings us to Bookman, because we are now going to be remembering our true national hero and realizing that all of them were very spiritually people, very God-fearing, right, guided by the Almighty Holy Trinity. And we speak of the African, the Kush God that our ancestors speak of, right, and pray to. And we now want our people to start to going back to our national heroes and see exactly what inspired them to greatness. Well, we'll find that the God Almighty of the Kush kingdom, the God Almighty of Africa, the African God, is what our people had turned to in those times when we were facing adversities of the most wickedest nature that was ever committed by one human race against another.
All right.
Yes, my brother. It is important. I think the time has come when the people of Jamaica must recognize that 7,000 people lose their life in 1865 in St. Thomas. 7,000. 1,000 houses was destroyed, was burned to the ground. Now, can you imagine if today 7,000 people was dead in any parish, and 1,000 houses burned down? What kind of devastation that was? Back then, we had a population of about 23,000 people when St. Thomas lose 7,000 and 1,000 houses. So it's like there was no house leaving St. Thomas. Now, how can something like this take place that give birth to independence and all of these things that we are enjoying? And ain't nobody in leadership in this country the only person that I can honestly say ever, when I was starting this memorial back in 1999, and I was mocked and laughed at, it was Deacon Ranitweet who came forward and said that he was willing to give us strength and come out there and start the first memorial. And it was when people see Mr. Tweet name appear on the flyers as the guest preacher that people stop laugh after me, and I becomes the subject of mockery. So I am saying that to all well-thinking Jamaican, are we so proud that we cannot embrace ourselves? How can we be so proud that we cannot acknowledge the blood sacrifice of these people? It is as a result of these people why England had to change their laws in every colony. 7 consecutive years Morant Bay Rebellion was discussed in the Parliament of London for. This Morant Bay Rebellion are uprising caused changes throughout the universe. The biggest transformation that happened in the Western Hemisphere on behalf of black people take place, in the interest, transformation in the interest of the black race took place as a result of Morant Bay Rebellion. How can a history like this is being bypassed?
All right, give thanks, my brother. May I tell you, man, them come with enough power this morning. Bless you. Give thanks. We got to run, so thank you very much and all the best for the activities. Just to give us some of those dates again quickly. The first date in the vigil is the 10th of October.
Tomorrow night.
Right.
Tomorrow night. So Stony God St. Thomas tomorrow night.
And then you have October 14th in Montego Bay.
That is correct.
And then October 15th at Heroes
Mandela
Park.
Park to Heroes.
Right, and then October 23rd, which is a Tuesday, you've asked for the candles to be lit in Parliament in memorial for that.
On the agenda.
Yes. Okay,
all right, listeners, we go straight into Heads Up, and these brothers will be on Jerry's show today, so you want to hear more about these brothers and the power they come with, stay tuned for Jerry's show. Right to Heads Up and then the BBC News, and we'll come back for the big picture.
These days, we are often so busy with work, kids, or household chores that we forget to take stock of our health. If we do manage to spend a few minutes thinking about our physical well-being, we often neglect to think about our own mental health care. Mental health is just as important as our physical health. After all, we need our minds to be healthy in order to complete our daily tasks, enjoy activities, and hopefully live longer. But what exactly are we talking about when we refer to mental health? When we talk about our mental health, we are referring to both our brain's physical health as well as our emotional state. In order to have good overall mental health, your brain needs to be physically fit as well as emotionally fit. Here are some great tips on how you can look after your mental well-being and ensure that your mind stays healthy. First of all, stay physically fit. You may be wondering how staying physically fit can help your brain's mental health. But mind-body interaction happens on a daily basis. So if your body is healthy, then there's a better chance that your brain will also be healthy. This in turn will boost your self-esteem, your mood, and your overall mental state. Try to get at least 30 minutes of exercise every day. Exercise helps to bring blood and oxygen to your brain, which also helps to improve your memory, your reasoning, and your reaction time. Studies have also shown that even exercising 3 times a day for 10-minute intervals can provide you with great mind enhancement. Keeping physically fit will also help to ward off heart problems such as heart attack, stroke, and hypertension. Heart problems can drastically affect your brain function, as it is the heart that supplies the brain with nutrients. So, while you are thinking about staying mentally healthy, try thinking about staying healthy at heart. Maintain
Heard everywhere.
Welcome back to Fresh Start, everyone. Thank you so much for staying with us. I'm Sharon Hay Webster.
And I'm Clyde Williams, and we continue now with the big picture. In the big picture today, we're looking at the mental health care in Jamaica. And Dr. Maureen Irons Morgan, Director Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services, joins us to tell us about Jamaica's present position where mental health is concerned. And Mr. Michael Tucker from Jamaica National Council on Drug Abuse will tell us about youth's involvement in drug abuse and its implication for mental health.
Well, Clyde, I can tell you, these two have been working in mental health services for quite some time. Maureen Irons Morgan had been part of that whole community mental health initiative that had raised with Yvonne McAllister this morning. And well, Michael has been executive director and handling the National Council of Drug Abuse for quite some time. So we have two good sources to guide us on our discussion. Good morning, Dr. Irons.
Good morning.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thanks. And
okay.
You?
Good. And Clyde is here in studio.
Wonderful.
How do you do, Dr. Irons?
How do you do to you, sir?
All right. Master Michael, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Oh,
morning.
wonderful. How are you doing, Michael?
I'm okay, and you're well?
Yes, we are well, especially to be in your company, and you're going to guide us with our discussions this morning.
Well, I think Dr. Irons didn't have her coffee as yet, so Dr. Irons, here we go. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
All right, so can I just start by asking, I've read in some time last year, I read in the papers that Jamaica was in breach of its international obligations, treaty obligations, in not having a dedicated place for the criminally insane. Is that correct? And is there anything that that's happening in the pipeline to make this become a reality?
Well, I am not sure where that report was stated. However, let me say that the forensic psychiatric services are currently handled under the Ministry of Justice. That would be the Prisons Correctional Services.
Yes.
That's where they are currently located. Years ago, back in the 70s, there used to be a forensic psychiatric ward at the Bellevue Hospital, but for many years now, that has not been so. And currently, the services are for residential treatment are within the correctional services. And a lot is done, however, at the community level still, where forensic cases are taken to the clinics that treat other persons with mental illnesses, or they access services at the outpatient services. So if these are people who come in contact with the criminal justice system and they are not in the prisons, they access the mental health services. And special access is made for them at the hospitals, at the health centers, but those who are within the correctional services, they are treated within the correctional services. And I do know that there are consultant psychiatrists, there's a consultant forensic psychiatrist, and there are several other consultants who offer treatment within the correctional services.
As somebody who comes in contact with those services on a day-to-day, not day-to-day, but in the course of my job, I must tell you, my heart goes out because it's a vulnerable group.
It is, yes.
And they are amongst persons who are sane and who have been found to have been guilty of criminal acts, and they get the abuse sometimes.
Yes.
It's horrific,
yes.
The kinds of abuse, and they can't escape because, of course, they're walled in. Is there a real issue that we have in the country in terms of stigmatizing and discriminating against persons with mental illness, Doctor?
Well, for a long time, stigma has been, unfortunately, a big part related to mental illness. As a matter of fact, when you use the term mental health, people don't even think about the positive, good aspect of it, which we are trying to promote, and the fact that everybody needs to be mentally healthy. But in fact, they think of mental illness. And because traditionally there has been a lot of misunderstanding and confusion about the causes and treatment and so on. But, we are making strides. I am happy to say that I have certainly seen improvement. I think there is more acceptance, and we do have several support groups, and people are coming forward. No, not to the extent that you would see it in perhaps some larger countries, but at least people are willing to give support. And we're more and more we're understanding that mental illness is an illness, and it can be treated, and people have the right to all the other human rights and civil rights that people have, even if they have a mental illness.
Can I ask you, Dr. Morgan, is there a change in how families are addressing this? Because Clyde and I had been exchanging little banter about this a little earlier.
Yes.
But has there been some change? I've been trying to convince him,
yes.
And you had indicated that you see more support groups. Tell us more about family mental health and what's happening there.
Well, the truth is, A lot of people don't know, but in Jamaica, most of the people with mental illness, they're actually treated in the community and within their family.
Okay.
Family support. We tend to see the minority who are abandoned in the mental hospital. And we are sorry about that. There are many people who are abandoned in the mental hospital who really do not need to be there. And this is because they have been left there by their families. Even though they're well enough to go home, for one reason or another, families feel like they can't, manage, or they're afraid, or so on. But many people with chronic mental illness are within their family setting. And families take them to the clinics and take them to hospital. And the community mental health team goes to their homes, meet with their families, try and see how they can, help them to understand the illness and how to support. Because one of the things that people with chronic mental illness struggle with is what we call lack of insight. They may not know that they have this illness and that they need to have treatment. So they need that kind of strong support sometimes within the family. So there is a group, Mrs. Makala Sobers, I heard you mention her name.
Yes.
And she's active in the support. And there's a group called Mensana in the Kingston and St. Andrew region that has been very active. And we have been engaging, them in partnership, in terms of looking at the policies and the plans and how can we best partner with them to meet the needs of persons with mental illnesses. And we're hoping that groups like this will spring up all over Jamaica.
I want to throw a little troublesome spin now, because I am looking at the issue of the current reports we're getting of abuse of our women and children.
Yes.
And many persons like myself who've been researching sexual offences, we've seen where WHO has said that rape ought to be treated as a public health matter, and we should see more psychiatrists trained within the public health system to handle this. Can I get any comments from you in respect to that?
Definitely. I agree with you now. But as you know, the truth is that a lot of rapes are not even reported. Isn't that so?
Yes, it is.
Yes. A lot of it is hidden, and there's a lot of shame and guilt. And so the first hurdle that we have to cross is for getting people to be able to speak up. And as long as we have this secrecy and shame, then, we can't even get to deal with the problem. So a lot of it will come from promoting, more awareness that this is happening and it ought not to happen. And I agree with you that more should be done. We need to look more at how can we help people to recover, because it's one thing to have been victimized and abused in this way. The other thing is recovery, which is possible and which must be supported. And people need treatment and they need help in recovering. And also people who are the perpetrators.
That's where I wanted to focus now.
Yes.
Right.
And sometimes these things happen within families and they are multi-generational.
You want to expand on that a little more?
Let's bring in Michael, because Michael has been holding for a while. Michael?
Hi.
Yeah. Is
Hello, I'm here.
Yeah. Is there a relationship between substance abuse and mental health?
Well, as you know, addiction is a brain disease. So there's it goes hand in hand. Good mental health, as Dr. Hans Morgan and her group promotes, should prevent or delay or get rid of the problem of substance abuse generally. So there is a strong correlation between, say, depression and people who use alcohol and other drugs. There's also the relationship between people who, say, use ganja and some of them who have psychotic episodes. So there is a relationship. In fact, a survey we did in 2001, when we looked at the general population, about 19% of the population presented with clinical, that could be clinically diagnosed as depressed, and there was a strong relationship between their depression and alcohol use at that stage.
What about our youths? What's going on there? Oftentimes you hear stories that youths are using more alcohol now and so forth. But I'm wondering if we have short memories, because as far as I remember when I was a boy, youths are using a lot of alcohol then. But tell us a little bit of what's going on that scene in Jamaica now.
What the problem is, are the challenges for us, and certainly Dr. Hans Morgan and other people in mental health system and substance abuse prevention system is that the youngsters are starting to use younger and younger. So in Jamaica, and let me add across the region, the average age of first use for both males and females of, say, alcohol and cigarettes are between 10 and 12.
Really?
Yes, and then for marijuana, between, say, 12 and 14. So you have that age cohort between 10 and 14 where the experimentation actually starts. So that is a challenge. Of course, as we'd expect, alcohol is the most abused substance. More and more youngsters are getting involved. More are getting drunk at a younger age. When we looked at our survey we did in 2010, about 35% of the youngsters between 13 and 15 years were drunk on more than one occasion in the last year that we did the survey. So that must be of concern. Many of them, about 80% of them, had their first drink before age 14. And percentage of them who drank at least one drink containing alcohol on one or more days in the past month was 52%. So you see the experimentation is there. Same thing holds for tobacco. It comes to accessibility, it comes to exposure opportunity because of the environment in which the youngsters are find themselves, and also alcohol and cigarettes and other drugs are available. Right. So it's all of those things combined, and of course the glamorization of substance use.
Dr. Morgan,
yes.
I need to ask this because of our cultural context. Clinically, is there a relationship between marijuana use / abuse and mental health?
Definitely.
Tell us a little bit about
that. We have seen, without a doubt, a strong connection between marijuana use and abuse and psychiatric disorders. In some cases, it is what is clinically called a ganja-induced psychosis or marijuana-induced psychosis. In other words, a person becomes psychotic after using the drug and perhaps because of intoxication. But there are many other situations where it seems as if marijuana was a trigger to cause a schizophrenia to come to the fore. In other words, this person could have been genetically vulnerable, predisposed, and marijuana seemed to have been the trigger. But without a doubt, we have found that a very, very high percentage of young men in particular who present with a psychiatric problem, that they have been using marijuana. Now, another thing that we find is that sometimes when you speak to persons who have been depressed, they would have chosen to use marijuana to self-medicate. That is another phenomenon that has been observed. And,
what do you mean by self-medicate?
In other words, they're looking for something to feel better. Generally, what we find is that when men become depressed, they often don't talk about it as much as women would. So we say, for example, that women are 2 to 3 times likely to become more depressed than men. However, on the other hand, about 7 to 8 times, or even up to 11 times, men commit suicide as women in Jamaica.
Really?
Yes. So one of the things that we notice that when men become depressed, they don't come and express their feelings. Culturally, men are not taught, or encouraged to express feelings, emotions, negative emotions. They deal with it. So they drink alcohol or they smoke.
So they bury them?
They bury it. And then they act in a lethal way. whereas women are more likely to talk and cry and share and get support.
We're going to have to take a quick break. When we come back from the break, I'm going to also ask if you could comment on alcohol use and abuse, and if there's any clinical evidence of it that impacting on mental health. Just a few. This break might be a little long, so just hold the lines for us, please. Welcome back to Fresh Start. We are in the big picture. Today, this segment focuses on mental health and substance abuse. This, of course, is Mental Health Week here in Jamaica. I think it's international.
Yes, it is international. Yes. And in studio online, we have with us Dr. Maureen Irons Morgan, Director of the Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services of the Ministry of Health, and also Mr. Michael Tucker from the National Council on Drug Abuse. Just before the break, Dr. Irons,
yes.
Clyde had asked you of the possible link between alcohol abuse and mental health. You want to comment on that now for us?
Definitely. What we have found is that alcohol abuse and depression are very closely related. As I mentioned before, many people with depression will take alcohol or other drugs, but alcohol is a common one, to help them to feel better. However, what actually happens is that alcohol is more a contributor to depression than actually something that will keep them high.
How so?
So it's because of the effect or the chemical effects that it has, and it really ends up with them having a low eventually, rather than a high. The high is temporary.
Okay.
The disinhibition and so on, and then there's a fall.
You come crashing down.
You come crashing down. And as a result of that, people then become more depressed, and
so it's a cycle.
It is a cycle. And of course, you have a lot of other effects of alcohol. Apart from even depression, all the physical effects you can have.
What's that?
Your
Weight
liver,
gain,
for example,
else?
the cirrhosis, effects on the brain, and so on.
Effects on the brain? What kind of effects on the brain? Other than the depression that you come back to?
The memory effects. People have been known to have alcohol affecting the brain in a way that it affects your memory, your ability to concentrate, to recall information, and so on.
Oh,
all
okay.
of those
First time hearing that one. Okay.
And is that also seen as part of good mental health, the ability to recall, to remember?
Oh, definitely.
Things?
The cognitive aspects of the brain functioning. Definitely.
Michael, are there services available here in Jamaica for youth who are at risk? Drug abuse, alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana, other kinds of drugs?
Yes, there are services available, certainly through the National Council on Drug Abuse and the network and affiliated agencies.
Can you speak up a little? We're not hearing you so well.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, man.
Yes, there are services that are available, certainly through the National Council on Drug Abuse and the network that we have in the field. We do regular counseling. We help people who have gotten into trouble, who are actually addicted or abusing substances, and we work often with the mental health officers or the health professionals to design treatment programs and deliver the treatment programs. Often for the youngsters, the residential treatment plan isn't what suits them, so we counsel them and we deal with them either in the offices or in the community or wherever convenient, say in the mental health clinics. So there are services that are available for the young people. For all those drugs that you mentioned, a lot of them present for ganja use often. Not many of them present for alcohol use, because for young people, when they start to experiment, they don't start to run into serious problems, fortunately, until maybe they are in their mid-20s, going on to 30s. So they will get away with some experimentation and maybe even abuse for a while, but then they start to get into problems with the law, with their job, with family, etc.
Just quickly on a follow-up on that. So I'm a guardian, caregiver, parent, sister, brother.
Yes.
and I have noticed some behavioral changes in a young person that I have in my responsibility.
Yes.
What can I do? What are the first steps that, where do I go?
Well, the first step, if you have a family physician, go to family physician. Often the physicians can administer some kind of drug test, say a urine test, to determine if there are any abuse of any substance or any polyabuse, more than one substance. Then that doctor would make some kind of contact with, say, a professional counselor or somebody who has experience in dealing with issues of substance abuse, because not all physicians actually have that experience, unfortunately.
Okay.
So they could contact, say, the National Council on Drug Abuse, 926-900-224. We would have counselors who are experienced in dealing with substance abusers. We would then do an analysis, see what is happening, try to figure out the underlying cause of what is going on. If there are any mental problems that present, then certainly there would be contact with somebody who is a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and then we'd work with them through those issues and come up with a treatment plan. Work with the youngster to a point where he or she has recovered or is a recovering person, and then monitor after.
Okay, you know what? I want to add something to your consideration in terms of drug use. We've seen from research and comments online about the new, how would I put them now, designer drugs, so to speak. The tablets and other liquids that come in at rave parties and all of these things.
Yes.
What have you done any study of that in terms of use and reach here in Jamaica? And if so, tell us what the NCDA is doing about it.
Well, we tend to be proactive. Most of the things that present in the States or in Europe has been popular, and what is in will eventually present here because of the influences. First of all, the people who market drugs are very innovative, and once there's a demand for something there, they'll create a demand here. So we tend to be innovative. We will sensitize the youngsters through public education, sensitize the general public, and the youngsters in particular. We'll work with our network to send the relevant information out there. We also consult with the police, especially people in narcotics, to see if there have been any seizures. A couple of years ago, when there was a last seizure of ecstasy in Montego Bay, then we realized that there was a significant amount of that coming in to the party network or the party scene. So we're able to be proactive and send out information about that. But there's a myriad of drugs, and even as we are speaking, people are in their labs trying to create something that will give a better high and is more devastating and will affect our youngsters in a more negative way. So every day something different comes out, and that is a challenge we face. Sometimes the things are so dangerous that it causes permanent mental damage. As crystal meth is one of those things. Over time, it destroys your brain, it destroys your neurotransmission in your brain, and it just mashes up everything. So these are the sort of things we face, and we can only do the necessary public education and sensitization for the young people to make them realize how negative consequences of substance misuse or substance abuse.
And provide an environment for healthy alternative lifestyles in recreation, in sports,
Yes,
drama, music.
Yes.
Doc, I want to ask you this, Doc. Sorry, you wanted to
No, I
chime in.
just wanted to say that one of the things that we can remember is that the brain is a control center for your thinking, behavior, and your whole, life, how you live and so on. So once you attack that center, you're in serious problem. So we really should try to protect our brain.
Yes.
And are there exercises we must do to protect the brain, Doc? Just the same way that we exercise the body, as in stretch and sit-ups and those things.
That is so true, because when you, for example, when you think when you focus on healthy, good thoughts that are encouraging to yourself, that is helpful rather than thinking about things that are negative and that could be harmful. Protecting your brain from the influences of the addictive substances, that is also a very important aspect of it.
And of course, laughter and family and friends. And
so you need to have Clyde with you every day, Dr. Irons.
Physical exercise.
Yes.
Physical exercise increases the whole flow of those neurotransmitters that we talk about.
The feel-good ones.
The serotonin and so on, yes.
Okay.
I need to ask you this. This is just my observation. It appears to me that persons who get checked into these mental institutions, they just seem to get worse before they get better, Doc. I mean, when I visit, they just seem to be all drugged up, zombie moving like and so on.
Right.
Are my observations off?
No, but a lot of the zombie-like features that you see are side effects of the antipsychotic medication. And what we have now, we have a lot of more modern antipsychotic medication that will in fact calm and sedate people without those zombie-like effects.
Okay.
Yes, because I was very worried about it.
Yes, so we have come a long way.
Right. Is there any kind of mix of recreation and sports and those kinds of lighter things in life as part of the program of treating mental illness?
Definitely. When we talk about treating people with mental illness, we realize that treatment is a lot more than just giving medication. So there is a need for the recreational therapy. There's a need for what we call occupational therapy as well, especially people who have lost some of their functioning, their skills to function. And there is what we call psychosocial rehabilitation, where people would have lost some of the psychosocial skills, the relationship building skills, just being able to talk and relate to people, express feelings and so on. And, all of that is addressed in the setting of treatment for mental illness, whether at the hospital or at the community level. This is where you have the support from the psychologist, social worker, and so on.
Good. Dr. Morgan and Michael, we thank you so much for the conversation we've had with you this morning.
Yes.
We're coming to the end of our segment with you. And the last comment, I give you 30 seconds, Dr. Morgan, and then 30 seconds, Mr. Tucker.
Well, just to say that community mental health services are available if there's anyone with any concerns about mental health issues. And we're available. The services can be accessed through the primary health care, that means your health center, or the hospitals. I just want to point out something too. I don't know how many people are aware that Jamaica is said to rate very high on what is called the Happy Planet Index. And this, this says something.
Well, we need to keep putting that forward on our program.
Yes,
Thanks for that.
To remember that.
What's our ranking again?
Right now we're about 6, but and this is about 140 something countries.
Okay.
And in 2009 we were 3rd.
Yes.
Okay.
And
so we slip a little. All right. We need Clyde to push us back up.
Thanks, Doc.
Thanks for that, Doc. Michael?
Yeah, just want to say that when we did our survey with the youngsters, they pointed to peer pressure and trying to cope, dealing with stress as part of some of the reasons why they experimented with drugs. Now, we need to, as adults, as caregivers, as parents, as even guardians and mentors, understand the almost hostile environment in which our youngsters exist. The demand on them to perform in school, often lack of parental support, and then the environmental and social challenges that they have. And we need to help them with the coping skills, and especially where Dr. Hans was talking about good self-esteem, feeling positive about themselves, having a positive outlook on life and a bright future. Those things are very important for young people to deal with what they have to deal with, and also to keep their eye on something that is better and brighter down the road, so that they don't really fall prey to substance use.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Michael Tucker from the Jamaica National Council on Drug Abuse, where he is the Executive Director, and Dr. Maureen Irons Morgan, Director of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services in the Ministry of Health. We go to a short break and then we come back to our callback feature, and we remind you of the numbers as we come back in.
Welcome back. It's the final lap here for today. Fresh start. The numbers for callback 702-2585
702-3470
977-7638.
Our toll-free line 1-888-888, that is 991-5155.
And Digicel 618-1823. We have a caller online. Good morning, caller.
Yes, Clive. First, this Digicel, is it a straight Digicel?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
so
yes,
if
it
I call
is.
in my Digicel and I am on the plan, I will get the benefit.
Yes,
I
you
would
will,
imagine. Yes,
sir.
you will. Yes, I got a thumbs up. Yes.
Yes, Clive. But you have now, you discuss so many important issues, but you see the political one, that with the difference between a man and a woman and how we deal with things.
Yes.
Yes.
My God, Clive, because the truth, we don't like to hear the truth. And I'm going to be accused. So before I go there, make a dilute. and how you call it. Look at man, you need to say something straight now, Clive. You said the place that the Chinaman lived is 19 meters.
Yes.
But you said that small space, Clive, but 19 meters is not small.
No, because that's 22 meters. I think it's probably square. A cricket pitch is about 22 meters, I think. So you can just
it's 22 meters?
Yes, a cricket pitch is about, I think it's 22 meters, a cricket pitch.
So
you can
that
use
is the length?
Yes, that's the length of a cricket pitch.
But Clyde, you couldn't get 2 big room out of that.
You stop it, bro.
Hear this now. Look here now, man.
You can't get 2 big room out of that.
Yes, but it's the conversion of the old abandoned toilet that struck us.
Okay.
Right.
Is that really actually the length?
No.
No. It's a space.
So that means it's
right.
a space.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Clive, the mental illness now.
Yes.
This is a serious issue, Clive. And I tell you, all the while, I say if I buy the lotto all the while. And you know the main reason why I buy it? I say, well, if I buy it and I win some money. You see these people?
Sure.
I would definitely do something.
You buy it because you want to
gamble. They need help, you know, Clive.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, you believe, me not feel good, Clive, you know, say right now. With all things might add, me can eat 3 or 4 times for the day. And when I look, I go into work one morning, and when I look and see the things where the man I pick up and I put in my mouth.
Yes,
I
troubling.
feel very,
troubling.
very bad.
Troubling.
It's a human being, and you have to live that way.
Right.
I feel, no, we are not doing enough, Clyde.
Yeah, but you know what concerns me? Is those things are symptomatic of an ill in the society. When you drive around and see so many Jamaicans wandering on the road, sleeping on the road, dirty, unkempt, and so on.
And there are more now.
Yes, those things are symptomatic of what's going on in society. We are very ill in that regard, because I've never been anywhere else in the Caribbean and in developed countries and seen the numbers of persons on the roads just wandering around.
Even if you see street people,
that's right.
They don't carry themselves the way, because I never travel it, but from what I see, and street people on the street in New York, even if these people are mad and they have them things with them, they don't look like our people.
No, it's very different.
Yes, Clive, I wish somebody have the courage to deal with this issue on Bellevue. I never believe it a help as far as I understand.
No, but you see what I should tell you, it didn't come out in a discussion, but part of the policy that the government has worked with over time is that we must stop treating people in facilities such as Bellevue and rather treat them in the communities and treat them within their families. Because when you keep them within the institution, you retard their capability of coming back to society and functioning as a whole person.
I hear that suggestion some time ago, on. I believe it was stood down,
No, Dr. Morgan spoke to it. No, Dr. Morgan spoke to it this morning. It means that there are not as many people going to Bellevue, but it doesn't mean that Bellevue still is not being utilized.
Even the name frightens me.
Are
Let's
they
take.
getting
I
the
have
right
another
people?
call online.
All right.
Yes. Oh goodness, we just
Sorry,
lost him.
Morning.
Good morning, God, wonderful people.
Hey.
The topic this morning is
Yes.
about the brain and our lifestyle.
Yes.
I have family who smoke, and you have some of them, right? They are negative to positive thing, and positive things they are slow. And the key to this is they do not feed them body properly. They take in a lot of alcohol. When a woman is pregnant and she do not get good care and eat properly, they bring a problem child. And when you talk certain things, you know, they are saying you chat too much and you're going in their private life, but it turns out into the society.
Okay.
Can I tell you, I love to hear you every morning because you bring a perspective that oftentimes nobody else brings
I
to the
can
table.
tell you, for example, with my sister, my stepmother and my father never used to get along. And my father used to beat my stepmother. And when he born a baby, and when sometimes when she cries, she's suckling that baby, that child end up with a heart problem.
Uh-oh.
It takes must about 24 years before she get over it.
Really?
So what
Wow.
you people is talking about
It's
is
true.
vitamin out there to the people them.
Yes. Okay,
Getting
then.
pregnant, you have, if you want 6 child, you have to make up your mother. If the father is not there, you is there. If one is not there, the other is there. And then we get a healthy society. Because majority of the people is mentally ill.
Yes, we're going to take another call. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yes,
All
bye. Good morning, caller.
Morning, Sharon and Clyde.
Hi, morning. What's up?
Yeah, good day, man.
Okay. What's on your mind this morning?
Yeah, let's be realistic, you see. It's hard for even men to survive amongst him own male companions in a chauvinistic society like ours. I think a woman being the head of politics in a country like ours, I don't think she will be a puppet. I mean, I try to put down women, you know.
A puppet?
I'm trying to be realistic.
No, I disagree with you.
But let's hear why you say that, because that sounds so very odd and weird.
Yes.
Why you say
No,
that?
because I say we have a chauvinistic society with hard even man survive amongst man.
But women are strong.
And
Women strong?
Yes,
Women are strong, but men are brutal.
I hear you. But at the same time, this is why women are needed there to be balanced that back out and bring the change you need. All right?
I'm not saying no, you know. But I'm saying let's be realistic.
Okay.
All right, we're
All
not
right.
going
We
to
thank
knock
you
your
for that
opinion,
view.
we don't
We'll have-
necessarily share it,
All
but-
right.
Okay.
We'll have
All right.
another call to share views with this morning.
All right, so let's take a couple texts. We have another caller. Yes. Good morning, caller.
Morning.
Hey, morning.
Yes. Listen, I listened to the program, and I want to compliment both of you. You're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
I'll tell you more about that another time, because I think the time is short this morning.
Right.
But read the program that you're saying about some of these mental people. It's not all the cases that people wouldn't want to take them home, but some of them are uncontrollable, and they will create problem. As a matter of fact, I know they will damage the people at home. So
that is true, and this is why the Bellevue still exists, to be able
Yeah,
to provide
this is what I'm
in-care
saying.
treatment within a facility.
Yes. If they have a means, if they're doing that, they probably would have to have some staff where people would give them some injection to calm them all the way. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I know that is one of the problems. So we can't broad brush the thing. We have to
No,
take
certainly
everything
not.
into account, you know.
Okay, then.
Thank you.
All
Thank you
right.
very much.
Okay, then. Thanks much.
We take some texts.
Okay, then. These texts are relative to our debate this morning, where we said that women make better political leaders. One says, I'm so disappointed about what happened with our Prime Minister. And also, what are male qualities? I'm sorry, he wasn't here to respond on that, because I wrote down that to ask him too. Women, because of their strength, are great teachers. Men want to abuse us and demand that we should only be soft. Read about the leaders in the Bible. Well, for multitasking, I know a male who has to cook, clean, and get his children ready for school every morning. Takes them to and from school while working as a teacher. So men do multitask. That is good to hear.
I just want to make a quick comment. You know, women, we accept women as nurturers, and that's a female quality.
Yeah.
So if you can have female quality like that, there are some qualities that are male qualities.
That is
Let's
true.
take a caller.
Hey, morning.
Hello.
How you doing?
Hey, what's up now?
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I listened to the caller before, this gentleman.
Yes.
And there's an African proverb that says, educate a man, you educate an individual. Educate a woman, you educate a nation.
Thank you very much, Mom.
The 9 months pregnancy.
Yes.
When the child, the personality, 'cause all males, their personality are formed by women. So I don't agree with him that a woman will not survive as leader because we live in a male chauvinistic society.
Yes. All right.
All male spends 9 months with their mother.
Yes.
All male.
At minimum of.
Huh?
I'm saying a minimum. Yes.
All male. Well, yes.
Yes.
That is the average time they spend with their mother.
Yes.
And within that 9 months, their personality, as I said before, is formed. Their thought process. All their lives growing up, mother is the first teacher that they meet. So all of what they do comes from the female. And there's an interesting poem written by Mervyn Morris, I think, My Mother Who Fathered Me.
Oh, yes,
so you
right,
should
right.
read it for that gentleman.
Okay,
All
we'll
right.
see if we can find that and,
Yeah, man.
and read that. Thanks
That is
again.
just my small contribution.
Yes,
Okay.
a very important one.
Thanks so much.
All right, it's wonderful to have the listeners listening and commenting on each other without any rambunctiousness, no raucousness,
true.
and so on. Wonderful sharing opinions. Well, listeners, we've come to the end of Fresh Start for today. Thanks to Crystal Tomlinson, our producer. Wonderful job, Crystal, with your team of assistant producers, Andre Poyser, Sharon Williams. Great job, guys. And Rody and Row, the
Rody,
best
Rody.
tech up in